that I applied in, and that was Campus Activities Board, Orientation, and Admissions. So I didn't want 3 jobs, but the chances of me getting all jobs were slim, so I figured I might as well just do the interviews and see what happens, right? So I did the interviews. Talking to Danny, Courtney, and Case, and Kelly, I was so excited for the jobs. I was so excited about possibly working for these places. I was just hoping against all hope that I would get at least one of them. Well, I got them all. I got the job with admissions and started soon after. A few days later, I received emails from both Campus Activities Board and Orientation offering me the position. I was so excited about the jobs, I couldn't possibly turn any of them down, and so I landed with 3 jobs while I was already overloaded. I knew it was going to be hard to balance it all, but I was like, I'm just going to have to figure it out because I can't make a decision. So I went from having no job and no plan for my future to 3 jobs and a new career path in a matter of weeks. Now, all of this was around the middle of my 2nd semester of freshman year. That same semester, I took a sociology course with Dr. Anderson. Dr. Anderson was my professor for my first public health class, and I absolutely adored her. I loved the material we were learning. She made it interesting. I had to take another one of her classes. She helped me realize that the sociology part of public health was really my main interest. And so I took a class in sociology with her. And I'll be honest, I was excited for the material. I was excited to have Dr. Anderson. I was not excited for the class itself. It was 3 hours, Monday nights, once a week in the spring. I did not want to spend my 5:45 to 8:45 on Monday nights in Trout Hall. It was getting nicer and nicer weather each week. I wanted to be out playing volleyball with my friends, but it was an interesting class. When I was in the class, time just flew by, so I was like, you know what, this isn't too bad. Well, little did I know, I wouldn't have to be sitting in Trout Hall on Monday nights for much longer. That was a semester we got sent home for COVID. And shortly after I got my life together is when we were sent home for COVID, and by shortly, I mean like 2 weeks. But nevertheless, I loved sociology online too, and I ended up picking up a sociology minor by the end of my 2nd semester. So, first semester of sophomore year. Came back to campus ready to get back at it. I spent too much time at home during COVID. I managed a Dairy Queen all summer, which was an experience. And I was so ready to see my friends, do the work that I enjoy, and get back to class. I had no idea at the time, but this semester, first semester of my sophomore year, would become one of the worst, but also best times in my life. I took a health and exercise science class so that I could declare a health and exercise science minor to go with my new occupational therapy path, right? They go together, so why not? So now it's sophomore year, I have 3 jobs, a major, 2 minors, and I'm in the honors program. This was the same semester I decided to rush Alpha Sigma Alpha, my social sorority, and Alpha Phi Omega, a service fraternity on campus. In the middle of rushing, I had a huge breakdown. I was like, I'm way too stressed, I'm way too overwhelmed, I got way too much on my plate, something's gotta give, right? So I was taking biology and I absolutely hated it. Turns out I'm just not a science person. Thought it might be chem, but no, I'm just not a science person. I was stressed, overwhelmed, and I had pushed myself past my limit. Something had to change. So I dropped APO in the middle of rushing. I dropped my biology class, changed my major to elementary ed, dropped both of my minors, stopped working for admissions, dropped honors, got a bid to ASA, and started excelling at CAB, which is Campus Activities Board. There we go. And orientation, started excelling at that too. So that was a lot of changes for one semester, so let me tell you how I got there. As I mentioned, I hated biology, I hated science, I hated labs, and I couldn't imagine putting myself through that for so many more years. I couldn't become an occupational therapist. As much as I wanted to help people, I realized that maybe healthcare was not the place since I could not sit in a lab to save my life. I couldn't believe how awful I was at making decisions. I had made the wrong choice again. I was freaking out. I knew my parents were going to kill me. They were not going to be happy about me changing my major again, changing my career path again. So I thought about how I'd always wanted to be a teacher when I was a kid. I figured, you know what? That's another way to help people. You can't have doctors if you don't have teachers. You can't have occupational therapists if you don't have teachers. So I went that path. I was going to be an elementary school teacher. That was the plan. No one could stop me. That meant that after having my health and exercise science minor for less than a semester, it was time to drop it. I had to take, and unfortunately there was no space left in my schedule for my sociology minor either because I had to take so many new classes, student teach, so unfortunately I had to drop the social minor as well. So I felt so much better about my new career path, even though I was missing out on Soc, but I had a lot less on my plate and it was a lot more manageable. I got a bid to ASA, I got the best big and the G big in the world, I made so many new friends, and I met my girlfriend through my big and G big. Things were looking up for me. I moved into Chesapeake about a month later, which is Greek housing for those of you who don't know, and I got even closer with my sisters. In the jobs aspect of my life, I was taking on a lot of responsibility through CAB, and it felt good. I felt like I was really getting a handle on how to do the job well, and my hard work did not go unrecognized. My orientation group and I had a great relationship. They came to me with problems, and I was always happy to help them. In the academics aspect of my life, classes did not go too great. Adjusting to online classes was really hard for me, and I'm not gonna lie, I did the worst I have ever done in that semester. I was ashamed, but I was motivated to come back stronger. By the time I made it to my second semester of sophomore year, I was able to start my elementary ed classes, and I was loving them. Learning how to teach seemed a lot more my speed than learning about cells and protons and all those other gross sciencey things. No offense to science people. I was working virtually for a call center, so that was an interesting job, but at least it was a little extra money. Things were steady last semester. I did well in classes, I did well in my jobs, and my best friend rushed ASA and became my sister. Life was good. This semester, more changes came about, shockingly enough. Here's where I'll explain the discretion of how many majors I've had. I am still an elementary education major technically, but as of about 3 days ago, I'll be changing my major to education studies and picking my sociology minor back up. So let's talk about how we got there. As has happened whenever I make a big academic change, this change was brought about by extreme stress. This semester, I'm the social chairwoman for ASA, and I'm an event supervisor for CAB, Campus Activities Board, and I can't lie, it's more work than I expected. I love it, don't get me wrong, but it can be a little overwhelming sometimes. I decided that I don't want to teach. Essentially, I want to do what I'm doing now forever. I want to work in a college. And I'm going to be honest, I feel like I finally landed where I need to be. So obviously I've had a lot of changes, but what's the point of all that? The point is that those changes were good. The point is that, sorry mom and dad, but I disagree with you. It's okay to change your major. It's okay to make some impulse decisions. Sure, there's been hard times, but they were all to bring me here. Those hard times existed to get me to the point I'm at today. And today, I have a great group of friends, the best girlfriend I could ask for, jobs that I love, and a major I am so excited for. My jobs have gotten me connections on campus that I can use to better my future. My risks have turned into rewards, and I feel ready for my future. Without the risks and changes and impulsive decisions, I would not be who I am today. So take risks, change your plans if you want to or if you need to. Believe in yourself, believe in your abilities, work hard, and I know it sounds cheesy, but things honestly will work out.
Well, I can say that was quite the story. But I can also say that many Roanoke College students see the same path, see many changes throughout their careers here. And I myself have changed my major once, but I think I'm in the right spot and it's going very well.
Thank you.
So next, I would like to introduce the captain of our swimming team. He's won ODAC Swimmer of the Week and was placed on the All-State Swim Team and was named a 2020 CSCAA Scholar All-American. In the class of 2022, please join me in welcoming Connor Kinkman.
Hello. So I'm Connor Kinkema. I'm a senior here at Roanoke College. I am majoring in health and exercise science and physics with a math minor. And do you have the clicker? Can I see that? Thank you. And I thought today would be a good day to tell my story as a Maroon here at Roanoke College. So to start at the beginning, I went to Bassett High School, which is about an hour south of here in Martinsville, Virginia, or right outside of Martinsville, Virginia. And throughout my high school career, there was only one college I really wanted to go to, and that was the United States Naval Academy. And so when it came to application time, I had heard about Roanoke College through Coach Scott Thacker, and so I thought I might as well apply to Roanoke. It seems like an awesome school. I had been here a few times, but I was still had my hopes set for the Naval Academy. So flash forward to April of my senior year of high school. I had actually been accepted into the Naval Academy and into Roanoke College, and was fully planning to attend the Naval Academy, and had kind of put Roanoke in my blind spot for now. And little did I know that a month later I would find out that they had actually overlooked some minor medical details that made me ineligible to go to the Naval Academy. So I had to pivot very quickly to accepting my acceptance to Roanoke College. It's actually kind of a funny story. The day after I found out that I would be at Roanoke, I was up here at the Salem YMCA, and Coach Scott Thacker came up to me and he was like, "Oh, congratulations on making it into the Naval Academy." And I had to tell him that, no, I'm attending Roanoke now, so I'll be swimming for you. And his first reaction was of excitement, which is, you wouldn't want that if you're sad because you didn't get into the school of your dreams. But then he obviously said he felt bad about it and whatnot. But that's when I knew that there's a lot of really good people here and that they were just excited for me to be here. So my freshman year began like many other freshman years. I was learning to balance things, learning to balance sports, social life, classes, and just try to grow as an individual. And I didn't know what I wanted to do at first when I came to Roanoke. I ended up deciding on being a physics major at first, but changed it a little bit. I was able to build a community with being part of the swim team and just being an outdoorsy person. I was able to find a really good community to surround myself with. And these three people on the edge right there, those are two of my really good friends. We started a fundraiser. It's called the Triple Crown Loop. We raise money every year by hiking 34 miles around the Catawba Valley for a different organization every year. Last year we raised $2,500 for the Alzheimer's Association. Year before that, we raised $2,700 for breast cancer research. But so that's like the community that I've been able to find here at Roanoke. And then being able to find yourself. College is a really great experience to be able to find what you like and what makes you happy. And for me, this started off with finding my majors. In high school, I had always been a STEM person, really enjoying maths and sciences, but I wasn't sure exactly what field I wanted to go into. So I decided to pursue a field in physics at first, but that didn't really satisfy what I wanted to go after. So I looked more into the sports side of sciences and decided that I really had a great passion for sports physiology. And so that I ended up adding human health and exercise sciences to my major as well as a math minor along with that. And I learned what I wanted to do after college too, through my college experience. Being around so many coaches from being on a team, I found that I loved coaching, and I loved the aspect of helping others around you get better and to improve their physiological and their physical and mental abilities. And then entrepreneurship. College has been a great time for me to explore going down entrepreneurial routes. So on the top left, or on the top right there, me and my friends started Changing Tides. It is a eco-friendly brand. We started with bamboo toothbrushes, but we also have like community outreach things with like a compost and whatnot. And then below that is another company me and my roommate started last year, which is Rising Tide Nutrition, where we make sport-specific pre-workouts to increase like performance and whatnot. But college is a great time to do that and exploring routes that you're passionate in going down that. And then it's been a great time to become a leader. So when I came here, it was only the second year of the swim team being around. And so I was on basically the ground floor of what turned out to be an amazing program. So right here on the right is, that's us last year. We actually, on our fourth year of having a program, we won the ODAC Championship Conference meet, which was for the men's tide, which was a pretty big thing. And not only that, but I've learned a lot of leadership from the two men in the middle, both my coaches. And we have one quote that really sticks with me, and that's, "We strive first and foremost to make great men and women," which I think is really important as a leader. And then, yeah, I've been able to surround myself with really great role models such as them and my captain who graduated last year. And then I've also learned a lot about how helping others succeed is the most important role in leadership, because if those around you aren't succeeding, then you're not doing it right? And so going forward, I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do next. I know I'm going to take everything that I learned here and use it to the best of my ability in some sort of career path. Right now, I'm hoping to pursue a professional career in athletics and as a triathlete, but I might end up at grad school, I might end up coaching somewhere, I'm not sure, but I'm very grateful for where I am now. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Connor. Our third storyteller is a 1999 alumna with a degree in physics, psychology, and elementary education, member of the second class of the honors program. She also received the John Effin Prize for Independent Study during her senior year. A very proud Chi-O, she served with several offices, including pledge trainer. She also spent 3 years as an RA in Marion Hall, the driving force being the single room and the private bathroom. She serves now on the Parent Leadership Council as a member of the Associate Society. She attended VCU School of Medicine and is now a partner at Pediatric Associates of Richmond. She is a mom to 3 amazing girls, the 2 youngest having been adopted from South Korea. She loves travel and hopes to do it more, enjoys reading, puzzles, decorating, and with a cup of coffee, and laughing with her girls. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Kristen Fisher-Powell.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So now it's the older people's turn. Ha ha ha. So it's not really easy to find common ground with your kids, right? Things that you're going to share with them as they grow. My girls continue to amaze and teach me new things constantly, but common ground, things that we both embrace, well, I have one teen with a goth style and a septum piercing. And as I learned yesterday on the way up from Richmond, her taste in music could not be more different than mine. But I couldn't love her anymore, and every day she broadens my horizons. And I have another teen, oh, maybe I do, with pink hair, whose sense of procrastination makes my gray hair stand on end every day. But she's taught me not to sweat the small stuff. She's amazingly creative, and I am lucky to have her in my life. So sometimes your kids teach you to see things differently, to frame your previous thoughts and experiences in a different way. Common ground, well. Uh-oh. We could kill the whole thing. Okay. I'll try not to mess it up again. Okay. So when your oldest child chooses to attend your alma mater for college, one would think you'd found some common ground, right? So taking Caroline on her first visit to Roanoke was a trip back in time for me. Gazing up at the window of my old room at Marion Hall, and telling stories about Chi-O and PICAP, and taking a walk through the front quad to see just how much everything was the same. Stories of 8 a.m. calculus classes at Trout Hall freshman year, time spent in the sandwich dorm of Crawford Hall, where in the 90s, the boys were on the on the bottom, and then there were 2 floors of girls. So there was none of this like shared hall. Telling stories of friendships and with peers and professors that shaped my life. But truthfully, I don't think Caroline was impressed very much. Thus, seeing Roanoke through new eyes, seeing how much had changed, marveling at the back quad where there was once Bowman Hall, now there was a beautiful new recreation and sports facility. The fraternity houses that I'd remembered had been changed and converted into beautiful new dorms. being blown away by the gorgeous views from Caroline's freshman dorm in Newhall. It was seeing things in a totally new way. This wasn't my campus anymore. This was a new experience. This was a new beginning. This was Caroline's beginning. And when she was accepted into the honors program, I was thrilled again, because here I was, her mom, the alum of only the second Roanoke College honors program class. Our days with Dr. Hill and Dr. Benny and Dr. Ah and Dr. Wisniewski shaping the program kind of as we went. 12 students, we all lived in a pod in Crawford Hall my freshman year, a very diverse group of learners. My education in that program has allowed me to learn to think critically, to pursue research using primary sources, to explore topics that I wouldn't have been immediately drawn to. And I was really excited for Caroline to have the same experience. Now, Caroline is part of a much larger and robust program that has become an integral part of her life at the college. She has had so many challenging experiences through her work in the honors program, and I'm excited to watch her take her infant ideas and grow them into a distinction project she will be proud of. She's cultivated a group of friends who are also eager to explore and grow academically and personally, and I'm so proud that she's able to participate in this remarkable program that I know will benefit her in graduate school. And equally new and exciting to me are Caroline's studies in psychology. How proud I was that Caroline and I were going to have the same major, common ground, right? But how different Caroline's course of study was than my own. Her coursework encompasses breadth and depth that my courses in the 90s were just scratching the surface of. She's exploring topics and concepts not yet even talked about back then. Her research opportunities with Dr. FVN are far beyond what I could have even fathomed. And I had some pretty amazing mentors here at Roanoke. So this is certainly not your mom's psychology major. It's definitely not your mom's Roanoke College. Caroline continues to expand my thoughts and my excitement for Roanoke. Thanks to her, I'm looking at Roanoke through brand new eyes and thinking how we can best support the college for years to come. Thanks to her, I'm looking at it through a parent's eyes. Working on the Parent Leadership Council to support and foster parental involvement in the college education and campus. And so with all these ways that she was reintroducing me to what I thought was common ground, I came to learn that we can always learn something new and see something in a new light if we see them through our kids' eyes. With that in mind, we embarked on yet another adventure together in January of 2020. I wanted to introduce Caroline to another place I hoped we would find common ground and a shared experience, that of a medical mission to Honduras. Caroline had been interested in travel for a very long time, was supposed to go to Germany for a semester abroad, but the pandemic hit. She was really interested in learning about cultures and people around the world, and as she was just beginning her second semester of at Roanoke, enrolled in a course about the Mayan world, a sociology course exploring economic disparity, and having a chance to practice her 5 years of Spanish, I thought a trip with her mom to the mountains of Central America sounded like the perfect adjunct. Honduras is a country of so many dichotomies. It is a beautiful place with breathtaking vistas, gorgeous waterfalls, vast beaches, and unspoiled mountain terrain. Yet, it is also a place of crowded cities, remote mountain villages with no resources, corruption, and poverty. The organization that I'm lucky enough to be involved and be the medical director of Friends of Barnabas has been established in Honduras for over 20 years. This organization has been working with focused communities, now numbering 30. In each remote mountain community, the teams work to establish safe living conditions, to provide ongoing health and hygiene practices, to provide medical care for the residents, especially the medically fragile children who would otherwise have no access to life-saving care. This endeavor means a monthly visit from a Honduran nursing team who monitor patients, especially those with medical special needs, 2 visits a year by a team of American doctors, volunteers, and nurses. And this was the trip Caroline and I embarked on. I'd done this trip previously, and I knew it was not easy, physically or emotionally. The terrain is rugged. The living conditions in the mountain villages are really primitive. Most families live on less than $5 US a week, work as farmers in the coffee industry, or farm the land. Some work in factories or industry in nearby cities. Dirt floors, cinder block houses, no plumbing, and minimal electricity are things that we can't ever imagine as our day-to-day life. Most children are forced to leave school to work after their elementary school years in order to provide for their families. It's really, to me, a place of heartache and poverty. And I wondered how Caroline would see this mission. She was the youngest member of our team so far, by far. She was missing her first week of classes, even though her professors were wonderful about allowing her to complete her work and engage in classwork when we had spotty internet connection. And this, remember, was months before we could even imagine that school would be all online and all remote. On my previous trips, I saw many kids in dire need of basic medical care. Very young mothers struggling to raise themselves and their babies. Children hungry and lacking the basics, toothbrushes, shoes. Older persons stoically proud, but suffering from the conditions of years of hard labor. And sometimes the lack of things can be overwhelming, especially when we view it from the perspective of our lives of privilege and prosperity. So I had hoped to reinforce to Caroline just how lucky she was, but also to help her see the great need. I wanted to find that common ground, for her to see this mission as I did. There was great need, but that we had a duty and a responsibility to help fill it, to find that common vision of service. What Caroline taught me was this was not her mother's medical mission. Where I saw areas of despair and need and poverty and challenge, Caroline saw something else entirely. She saw the joy of holding a newborn baby held in her arms after just opening its eyes to the world. The look on her face as she smiled up at me, proudly cradling this tiny infant in her arms, is one I will always treasure. It wasn't a look of worry for a baby born into a difficult circumstance. It was a marvel at life and the fact that there are always tomorrows. Where I saw malnourished children facing certain disease, she saw a group of kids laughing, happy, tossing a homemade soccer ball between them. She saw kids fascinated by soap bubbles being blown in the air. She saw the resilience of a sibling group who had traveled on their own from a remote area miles on foot just to receive medical care while their mother worked in the field. She noted how brave and how mature that was, even though these were just very young children. Where I saw children that would never have the chance at more than a third grade education, she saw kids who were thrilled that Caroline could communicate with them in their language, even if sometimes the words were mixed up. It's perfectly funny that the word for soap is interchanged with the word for ham in Spanish. Where I saw sadness, Caroline saw universal kindness and friendship. She befriended one child who was so mesmerized by Caroline that she followed her around the entire day. In the tradition of Friends of Barnabas, the volunteers are given crosses that they present to a patient they encounter who touches their heart. I had given so many crosses away to young moms, to stooped old men, to brave children. Caroline was the only person I had ever seen who received her cross back. She gave her wooden cross to that young girl who had followed her around that day. That child promptly ran, found a pencil, and wrote on the cross, Caroline and Sarah. She handed the cross back to Caroline. Our parting gift for Sarah as she left that day, Caroline's Roanoke College baseball hat. It sat so proudly on Sarah's head. She was so excited to show her friends. Caroline said she gave it to her so that Sarah could remember that she was important and she was special. Where I saw disparity, Caroline saw the opportunity for hope and a future. Nope, this isn't her mother's life. This isn't her mother's psychology major or her honors program. This isn't the Roanoke College I grew up with or the world as I've experienced it. This is something much better. It's an eye-opening experience and a reminder that our children will always show us new ways to experience old things. They will open our eyes to possibilities, and they will have similar experiences in much different ways than we did. No, we may not find common ground with nose rings and pink hair and crazy music or TikTok videos, or even our taste in meals in the commons. But my children have opened my eyes to why these things mean so much to them and how they shape their lives. Where it seems like there's really a great divide, perhaps we really do find common ground after all.
Our last storyteller was a former NASA engineer on the space shuttle program who became an ordained minister. This man knows Roanoke College better than most do. He was a chaplain of the college for 31 years, and here to tell us how we can turn thousands of dollars into $1 million. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Reverend Paul Henriksen. Thank you.
Okay. I just have to say that when I worked at Roanoke College, I would cut my right arm off to have one of these three come in as a student. Caitlin, who's got more orbits than who knows what. Connor, who is driven by something, and this guy will swim, run, and bike in this triathlon thing. I want to tell him, you bring the car around. You don't have to, anyhow. And then, Caitlin, here this person who didn't major in any pre-med, and now she's a pediatric specialist, and she found a niche in Central America. If this isn't what a small Lutheran liberal arts college is about, I don't know what it is. So I'm going to tell you how to turn $1,000 into $1 million, and I know Kim Blair in the back, Resource Development, is kind of anxious about this. She wants to know too. So we're going to, there you go. Okay, how to turn $1,000 into $1 million. In the late 1980s, we had a Center for Community Service, and we came up with this catchy phrase, we thought: invest yourself, keep the change. These three folks are showing us how to do that, that's for sure. That center is now called the Center for Community Engagement. But invest yourself, keep the change. Think about that for just a minute. Invest yourself. Some of you weren't around when Apple started, but had you been, if I had $1,000 on December 12, 1980, and invested it in an Apple stock, it would be worth over $675,000 now. Kim, why didn't that happen? Okay, we could have had, anyhow. So I'm going to say, if you take that same $1,000, this is how you turn it into $1 million. $1 million in just about the same time frame. I was a rookie chaplain in 1986. I'd been here for about 2 or 3 years. I was associate chaplain, then became chaplain. And the Lutheran Church at that time was given $1,000 to campus ministry programs for some kind of program. I had just become associated with Habitat for Humanity in the Roanoke Valley, and I thought, hey, why not take a spring break trip and do Habitat? I thought, that's a fine idea. So I put this grant in with a lot of grant wordage that I didn't live up to, but they gave me $1,000, and so that next spring I was going to take a trip somewhere to do Habitat. Well, college activities really get the best of chaplains, and so I didn't do much planning at all, and come the middle of January, just weeks away from spring break, I had no idea where to go. I had no idea how to do this. I had no kids signed up. I had nothing planned. And then out of the blue, I get this phone call from Geneseo College up in Western New York State. It just, boom, this guy calls up and he says, "Hi, this is so-and-so. I'm taking a group of students on a Habitat trip, and we're going to pass through Roanoke. Could we spend the night there?" I said, "If you give me a phone number of the place where you're going, I will buy you meals. I will do anything for you." And so they connected me with the folks in Columbia, South Carolina. Columbia, South Carolina had this active habitat program, and they were going down there. And so I got together 7 students, and we worked for 4 days. We put on half a roof, and we thought we were God's gift to carpentry. We just thought there was nothing we couldn't do. And we started that. Then the next year, we did the same thing. We had about 25 students show up. And since then, since 1987, been 35 spring break trips, 15 fall break trips. After Katrina, we went to New Orleans for 8 winter break trips, and we went 1 to Houston, and there was a May term trip, went to Tanzania, which we did a habitat connection there, and we did a habitat trip to South Florida after Hurricane Andrew came through. So about 58 trips, probably engaging on those trips more than 1,100 students. And the thing about all these trips, I would tell students there's going to be 3 things happen on this trip. Every day, you're going to laugh so hard you'll fall off the chair or fall onto the ground. And every day, you're going to be tired at the end of the day. And the third thing is somebody's life is going to change on this trip. And we all came back changed people. Some people changed their major. Some people changed their career paths because of some of these trips. So we came back differently. So $1,000 went a long way. Invest yourself. We came back changed. Keep the change. Well, here's where the story gets really, really interesting. While we were in Columbia, South Carolina, they said one time, the people down there, they said, "You know, we built a house on the campus of University of South Carolina, and we move it to its location." I said, "What? You build a house and then move it?" And I started thinking about that. I said, "Boy, what a great orientation project that would be. That would just be wonderful. We could build a house on the campus of Roanoke College and move it." And I did a wedding in the summer of 2005 for the Higginbotham family, and their daughter went to Roanoke College, and Mr. Higginbotham's corporation was an active donor to Habitat for Humanity. And at the wedding, we were standing under a tent, and I was talking to Mr. and Mrs. Higginbotham, and we were talking about Habitat, and I said, "You know, this is a crazy idea I have about building a house on campus and moving it." And I said just about no more than that when the band started up, and so I walked away from that conversation. About 4 months later, I get a call from the Habitat office in the city of Roanoke. Said, "Paul, the Higginbotham family has just given $25,000 to Habitat, but it has to be for a Roanoke College house, and they have to build the house on campus and move it. Paul, do you know anything about this? Well, since then, Our House began, which Our House is a program for during orientation where it's part of orientation for all freshmen to work for about 90 minutes on a house for Habitat for Humanity. We built it up in the parking lot up there at the north end of campus, and then we move it. I don't move it. It is moved to its location in Roanoke. Since 2006, we've done this 16 years in a row. 16 houses for Habitat for Humanity. It's required part of orientation since 2006. That should be typo. We have built 16 houses. No other college, as Lutherans, we're not allowed to be proud for more than like 5 minutes, but if you're Lutheran in here, you can be proud for your 5 minutes. No other college or university in the United States can make this claim that for the last, since 2006, any freshman who came into Roanoke College, every freshman has worked for at least an hour and a half on a house for Habitat for Humanity. That's a remarkable thing for us to be able to say. It's a singular identifying point that we're about purpose to serve the community somehow or another. And not everyone will do Habitat. They might even go to Central America, you know. They might even coach. Caitlin, I don't know where you're going to end up, but it's going to be something that engages people for the better. So, remember, we began with $1,000. This is $1,000 and a phone call out of the blue. Well, each house, in order to be sponsored, costs $50,000. So if you multiply that out, that turns into about $800,000. Plus, more than 50 houses we worked on in Columbia, New Orleans, Houston, South Florida, Tanzania. I'm just going to guess that we increased the value of those houses by maybe $4,000 with the stuff we brought, with the energy we had. And so I'm going to say that ends up with another $200,000. And here we are, $1,000 has become more than $1 million in results since 1986. Here's the basic truth, though. It's not about houses. It's about building community, and a house happens. People come back changed from this. People come back that things are different because of what you did. This is last year's house, okay? We did not build it this vertically in the parking lot. We built it in, does this have a pointer on it? Darn it. Okay, doesn't have a pointer. We built it in 4 sections, transported up. Crane comes in, takes them, plop, 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 puts the roof on. All of a sudden, you know, we've got a house. That's last year's house. Oh, there's the pointer. So, invest yourself, keep the change. Our house at Roanoke College is a way we try to engage folks like Connor, Caitlin, Kristen, to give them a launch pad for a life of service for others. Invest yourself, keep the change. Boop. Thanks for having us. Does anybody want to say goodbye? Are you saying goodbye?
I'm saying goodbye. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Reverend Henderson. Well, what an amazing Noke Hour this has been. I can't thank you all enough for listening to these stories. And please welcome me, and please join me in thanking these storytellers one more time with a round of applause. Well, we can't thank you all for being here enough. We all wish you a wonderful family weekend, and we hope you all develop your own stories here at Roanoke College.
Thank you, brother.